The first egg hit hard, right in the center of the windshield, a wet thump followed by yellow streaks down the glass. I was parked just outside the Elkstone Depot, still going over my notes, when the second one cracked dead against the hood. Nate ducked, arms over his head. Jesus, they're throwing eggs. No shit, I muttered, gripping the wheel tighter. I didn't flinch, I didn't move. I just watched the crowd form like a damn wave building on shore. 40, maybe 50 of them, all in safety vests, marching across the employee lot with plastic bags of ammo. They weren't smiling. Some had phones up, most were yelling. One big guy up front, stocky, bald, arms like tree trunks, pointed straight at my truck. That was Lonnie Ward, union boss, king of this rotted hill. He gave me notes from my first 3 days. Ruined. Quick note, before we start, how's your day going and where are you joining from? They're blocking the exit, Nate said, peeking over the dashboard. Doug, seriously, we should call this in. I started the engine, didn't rush it, just flipped the wipers, which smeared the mess into a blinding smear. Wipe that off, I told Nate, nodding to the glove box for napkins. And keep your head down. Doug, this is nuts. I rolled forward, slow and deliberate, 1 mile an hour max. The crowd parted just enough for the truck to crawl through. I didn't hit the horn, didn't look anyone in the eye, not even when someone chucked a half-full coffee cup at the rearview mirror. Lonnie stood dead center, arms out like a conductor leading a riot. His lips moved fast. He wasn't just yelling, he was directing. They thought they were in control. Nate looked up, still clutching his phone. Where are we going? The hotel's back that way. I made a left at the light. We're not going to the hotel, I said. My jaw was tight. I didn't raise my voice. Didn't need to. I didn't raise my voice once. I didn't have to. By the time we left, I had what I needed. Orders were simple. Stay put, observe, document everything. The usual, that's how it always started. They didn't send me to places for cake and coffee. My job wasn't to make speeches or shake hands. I was a fixer. Corporate called it operational risk mitigation. I called it go where things are broken, figure out who's screwing who, and clean house without burning the damn place down. Elkstone looked routine on paper. Late shipments, low productivity, accident reports stacking up. Sloppy, lazy, maybe a little crooked. Nothing I hadn't handled before. But then Nate flagged Lonnie Ward. Been union boss for 16 years. His brother sat on city council. Cousin ran the police union. Married into a family that owned half the damn trucking routes in the Tri-County area. You sure this place is routine? Nate asked me as we pulled into the company lot our first morning. Nope, I said, but we're here now. The first few days, I just watched. No clipboard, no talking. Just walking the floors and watching people freeze the second I showed up. Forklifts idled, radios cut out. Guys stared at their boots or turned down the next aisle like they suddenly remembered a fire to put out. The cameras bugged me. Some were mounted right, watching doors, supply lines. But a few moved when I moved. Not just swivel, they tracked. I think those are motion sensors, Nate whispered once, pointing discreetly near a corner rack and receiving. No, I said, that's not motion. That's interest. The safety drills were odd. Twice I saw 2 different drills happen on the same shift. First was run by some safety officer from HQ. Normal enough. The second, 30 minutes later, was all local staff. No record, and very few people took it seriously. There were locked storage cages marked under repair that never saw maintenance crews. When I asked about them, someone always said, ask maintenance. Maintenance said, ask operations. Operations shrugged. It was all deflection. Then I met Iris. Shipping and receiving, mid-30s, sharp eyes, talked with her hands like she was always half a sentence ahead of herself. I asked her how long she'd been there. She said, too long, and didn't laugh. I heard you're here to cut jobs, she said. I'm here to stop people from getting hurt, I said. That include you? She hesitated, glanced around, shifted her clipboard to block the nearest camera. Some of the gloves melt when they get wet, she said. Burned right through my fingertips once. They said I used the wrong kind. I didn't. I waited. Let the silence work. 3 people tried to report stuff last year, she said quietly. 1 got fired for performance, another for attitude. 3rd one didn't even make it a week. They said she was starting drama. You have proof? I asked. No, she said. But I've got names. That night, I sent a quiet update to HQ. No conclusions, just data points. That's what they wanted. No noise, no panic. But my gut was already screaming. Something was rotting in that place. 2 nights later, just after midnight, Nate and I pulled into the Elkstone lot with full access badges and a signed audit order from HQ. The guards didn't even look up from their phones. We went in through the side entrance, boots echoing through the hollow corridors. The place felt different at night. Empty, quiet, like it was holding its breath. "Camera blind spot starts here," Nate whispered, pointing to a gap between the rafters above maintenance. We moved fast. I had the master keyring clipped to my belt and a crowbar just in case. The locked storage cage, the one I'd asked about all week, sat in the corner behind old forklifts and stacked pallets of broken shelving. I jammed the key in. Didn't work. Next one didn't either. "Cover me!" I wedged the crowbar under the latch. Metal shrieked as it gave. Inside were 6 55-gallon drums, stacked too high, marked as citrus cleaner. Except I've worked chemical plants. These weren't cleaners. I popped the top on one. The smell hit us both like a gut punch. Sour, metallic, wrong. Nate stumbled back, coughing into his sleeve. "That's solvent. That's not even legal anymore." "Nope." The drums were stored next to a pile of flammable rags, loose wires, and a busted floor fan. No ventilation, no warning labels. Behind the drums was a plastic tub with old PPE, gloves, goggles, masks, all visibly rotted. I held one pair up. The fingertips were already disintegrating. "These the gloves Iris was talking about?" Nate asked, still being handed out. We kept moving. In the break room, we found a drawer full of the same gloves. I grabbed 2 pairs, sealed them in a Ziploc, and stuffed them in my satchel. Then Nate froze, eyes locked on a rolled-up poster wedged behind the mini fridge. "Boss," he said, handing it to me. I unrolled it and laid it flat on the break table. It was a plumbing schematic, full building water layout. What jumped out first was the split line. One system fed bathrooms, break rooms, janitorial sinks. The other, newer pipeline, split off just before the boiler and went straight to the executive wing upstairs, including Lonnie's private suite. I pointed. Filtered line to management, unfiltered to everyone else. Nate looked sick. "That's criminal." "Not yet," I said, "but we're getting close." Back at the motel, I dug into the vendor codes. The supplier who delivered the cleaners was listed as Harper Solutions LLC, registered 6 months ago to a P.O. box in Tempe, Arizona. I ran the tax ID. It looped to a private holding firm owned by Gregory N. Caldwell, Lonnie's brother-in-law. Further down, I found payment trails. 4-figure checks issued bi-weekly from the Elkstone budget, all routed to an account under the name Nora Ward. "Lonnie's mom," Nate said. "Maiden name?" "Yup." I packaged everything. Photos, invoices, schematics, even a sample glove sealed in plastic. Then I filed my official report to HQ. Recommended action, immediate partial shutdown, pending safety inspection. Exposure risk, high. Intentional mislabeling, likely. Suggested personnel review, Lonnie Ward. 3 days later, the depot went cold. No one looked at us. Guys stopped holding doors. Then I saw it. Posted on the wall by the time clocks in full color, stamped confidential, internal, use only. It was my report, or at least what looked like it. Pages reworded, paragraphs redacted. It claimed I recommended complete facility closure, and that operations be outsourced to overseas partners due to long-term regional instability. There were bullet points about cost-cutting and automation, none of them mine. "Boss," Nate said, holding a copy like it was radioactive. "They think you're shutting this place down for good." "That's not the report I wrote," I said flatly. "No," Nate said, "but it's the one they're reading." By sunrise, Lonnie had the whole crew outside. Forklifts sat idle. Dock doors were shut. Warehouse floor empty. Over 100 workers gathered in the gravel lot, all facing a makeshift stage built out of stacked pallets and a shipping crate. We pulled up just as Lonnie grabbed the mic. "There he is," he roared, pointing straight at me like I'd just walked onto a firing line. "This man right here is here to kill your jobs." The crowd turned, eyes full of heat. Some had printed flyers, copies of the fake report, already creased and smudged in their fists. "He's shutting down Elkstone," Lonnie shouted. Sending your work to China, Mexico, wherever it's cheapest. Booing exploded. A bottle flew past my shoulder. Nate twitched. You want to get back in the truck? No. I stepped forward. Stay close. I didn't grab a mic. Didn't raise my voice. Just stood on the ground, made sure they could all see my face. I've got one question, I said, loud enough to cut through the noise. Who here's been sick in the last few months? Silence. A few looked at each other. One woman rubbed her wrist. Rashes? Migraines? Weird breathing issues? Anybody? A man in maintenance raised his hand halfway, then all the way, then 2 more hands, then 5, 10, 20. Lonnie shouted over them. Don't listen to him. He's corporate. He's the enemy. He's trying to turn you against your own. I nodded to the back gate. Let him in. The guards opened the gate, and 2 people walked in. Not in suits, not in ties, just plain clothes and clipboards. These are independent inspectors from the State Safety Commission, I said. They ran tests 2 days ago. From your water fountains, your break room sink, your bathrooms. I handed one a wireless mic. She stepped forward and spoke clear. The general water system in this facility is contaminated with industrial solvent byproduct. Concentrations are high enough to cause skin burns, respiratory issues, and long-term organ damage. A stunned hush spread like smoke. I pulled a small projector from my satchel, pointed it at the wall of the shipping dock, and clicked. Up came the plumbing schematic, split line and all, clear as day. Executive offices, including Mr. Ward's, run on a separate filtered line, I said. Yours don't. Murmurs turned to swearing. Lonnie shouted again. He's making this up. He's trying to scare you into quitting so he can close us down. I walked to the nearest worker's fountain, turned the knob, filled a paper cup, and held it out. Drink it, I said. Right now. Prove me wrong. Lonnie's face locked up, jaw clenched. He didn't move. Go on, I said. You've been drinking it every day, right? Nothing. A guy from receiving yelled, Why won't he drink it? Then another voice. Then more. Yeah, Lonnie, take a sip. What's in our water, man? You knew, didn't you? The crowd surged forward. Lonnie backed up. Nate leaned in close. That match just hit the gas. I nodded. Let it burn. The crowd was already boiling when I stepped back toward the projector. Lonnie kept shouting over everyone, trying to claw back control, but the noise drowned him out. I clicked to the next slide. You want the rest? Here's the rest. Up came screenshots of falsified injury logs, signatures forged, dates changed, hours erased. A couple workers gasped. One woman covered her mouth. I pointed at each line item. These reports didn't get filed wrong. They got filed dirty. And they got sent straight to HQ with Lonnie's approval. He lunged for the mic again. This is corporate propaganda. He made those? No, I cut in. But you made these. I tapped my tablet and the screen flipped to an email chain. Lonnie's name right at the top. His messages to Caldwell, his brother-in-law, discussing supply quantities, transport fees, and extra handling, which was just a cute phrase for kickbacks. Workers moved closer. Someone shouted, What the hell, Lonnie? Another yelled, My kid's been sick for months. Lonnie tried to raise his palms like some peacekeeper. Everyone calm down. Those emails are taken out of context. The female inspector stepped forward and raised her voice. We're identifying ourselves on record. These findings match our lab analysis. Nothing here is manufactured. That set the crowd off. A wave of shouting broke over us. Men and women shouting questions, accusations, fear, rage, all of it pointed at Lonnie. He tried to shout over them again, but he didn't get the chance. A car door slammed behind us, hard. I turned. Barry Melrose, regional director, was striding across the lot with 2 HR officers behind him, stone-faced, no smile, no sympathy. He climbed onto the pallet stage like he owned it, took the mic right out of Lonnie's hand. We've seen the real report, Barry said, eyes locked on Lonnie. Not the one you circulated. A hush fell. Workers shifted, waiting. I walked up beside Barry and handed him the hard copy of my original report, time-stamped, sealed, signed digitally, and in ink. He held it up. This is the only report Mr. Douglas submitted, Barry said. It recommends a partial shutdown for safety and full investigation of storage and water systems. Nothing about outsourcing. Nothing about job cuts. A wave of murmurs rolled through the crowd, confused at first, then angry, then furious. Lonnie tried to laugh it off. Barry, come on. You know how corporate works. This guy's spinning things to make himself look good. He's not one of us. Barry turned slowly toward him. You distributed falsified documents. You tampered with internal reporting systems. You compromised workers' safety. I didn't, Lonnie started. You're suspended, Barry said. Effective now. Security will escort you off the property. 2 security officers stepped forward. Lonnie jerked his arm away, but they closed in on him anyway. Workers shouted at him as he was pulled off the stage. He twisted toward me, face red and shining with sweat. His voice dropped to a harsh whisper only I could hear. You've made an enemy for life. I met his stare without blinking. Security dragged him through the lot as the workers yelled and the inspectors packed up their equipment. I shut off the projector and stepped down from the stage, already moving toward the next fight. We left the depot and drove straight to the law office downtown. Nate filed the chain of evidence with our firm's legal team. I uploaded every doc to our encrypted server and flagged the case for executive review. Then I told Nate, get some rest, but sleep light. He laughed nervously. That a joke? I didn't answer. By morning, the retaliation hit. Nate called me just after 6. Someone broke into my hotel room. You in one piece? Yeah, door was jimmied. Nothing stolen, just flipped over. Like they wanted me to know they were there. I checked my phone. Missed call from the front desk at my motel. Went outside and saw why. All 4 tires on my rental were slashed. Not stabbed, slashed clean across, sidewall to sidewall. I walked around the car, fists tight. You're kidding me, I muttered. The diner down the street refused to seat us that afternoon. Waitress looked me dead in the face and said, locals only. We weren't even inside yet. Nate whispered, they're freezing us out. They're probing, seeing how hard they can push. Around 3, our firm's paralegal forwarded a scanned injunction signed by Judge Thomas Harper. I read it twice. Water test data inadmissible under emergency review. It said, insufficient chain of custody. Facility cleared for regular operation. I stared at the signature. Thomas Harper, golf buddy of Lonnie's cousin. Used to be his campaign treasurer, if I remembered right. Nate read over my shoulder. He blocked the state's report. Yeah, I said flatly. They're coming from every angle now. It didn't stop there. By sundown, I got a message from Iris. Short, blunt, scared. 3 of the guys who spoke up got eviction notices. All at once, same property company. I called one of them, Jorge from the loading crew. Voice shaky. Said his lease was suddenly voided due to undisclosed pet damage. He didn't even own a dog. They said I had 2 days to leave, he told me. I hung up and stared out the motel window. The sun was setting fast over the parking lot. Wind pushed dust against the curb. This place wasn't cleaning up. It was tightening ranks. Nate sat on the edge of the bed, scrolling through files. Why are they moving so fast? He's already suspended. I grabbed my satchel, checked the drive again. Still there, still intact. Because they don't care about job titles, I said. Lonnie had years to build this machine. Judges, landlords, unions, cops. They all owe him favors. So what do? I zipped the satchel shut and stood. He wants war, I said. He's gonna get one. I reached for my keys and kicked the motel chair out of my way. I've fought worse with less. Nate was pacing, checking for security patrols. I was halfway through a call with legal when my phone buzzed with a new message. I need to talk. It's Iris. Urgent. I dropped the call and texted back an address 2 blocks away. She showed up in a hoodie, eyes hollow, hands shaking. My son, she said, voice low. His arms look like mine now, red burns, itches that don't stop. He only drinks from the break room sink when he comes by after school. She reached into her coat pocket and slid me a small brass key. I wasn't sure if I should give this to you, she said. It's a backup for Lonnie's office. There's a mirror in his private bathroom. Behind it, locked cabinet. Nate leaned forward. You've seen it? She nodded. Twice. He pulled out papers with red tags on them. That's all I remember. I took the key and said nothing. Just nodded once. She left without another word. An hour later, we were back inside the depot. No alarms, no lights. We moved fast, quiet, through the west entrance near loading. Lonnie's office was unlocked, same as before. Desk neat, untouched. Bathroom door closed but not locked. Nate whispered, You sure about this? No, I said, but we're not leaving empty-handed. Inside the bathroom, I found the mirror. wider than standard, framed in fake gold. I pried at the edges and found the notch. Inserted the key. It clicked. The cabinet door creaked open. Inside was a fireproof safe with a keyhole and a stack of file folders underneath. The folders weren't random. One read, Caldwell Wire Transfers. Another, Supplier Risk Acknowledgement. A third, Terminated Staff. Attitude or non-compliant. I handed Nate my phone. Take photos of everything, every page. He snapped fast, methodical. I opened the top folder. Inside, certified bank receipts. Multiple six-figure transfers from Harper Solutions to a Nevada credit union under the name Nora M. Ward. I flipped through the chemical order sheets. Everyone had a red Danger Level 2 sticker at the top, signed by Lonnie himself. At the bottom of the cabinet, I found sealed medical logs. Not company health reports, private clinic forms, names matched workers I'd spoken to, rashes, respiratory infections, unexplained nerve damage. Last sheet was a list of names. Escalation risks. Everyone had already been fired. 3 of them were the whistleblowers Iris warned me about. I shoved everything into the satchel and zipped it. Nate looked at me. Where do we send it? All of them, I said. State AG, OSHA, and press. Triple drop, no delay. He nodded and started forwarding the files from his tablet. Signal was slow but steady. I stood by the door, ears sharp for any sound. Final files out, he said. We're good. That's when I heard the door. Front entrance. Loud. We froze. Boots on concrete. 1 pair. Heavy. I peeked around the corner. It was Lonnie. He didn't see us yet. He was coming in slow, muttering to himself, eyes scanning like he was looking for something that wasn't where he left it. We slipped out the back before he hit the stairs. By the time he reached his office, it was too late. Everything was already gone. We were barely out of the depot parking lot when the email hit my phone. Whole departments showed up. Warehouse, dispatch, cleaning crews, even off-shift techs. A small stage was already set, flags posted behind it. Lonnie stood front and center with a mic in one hand, the local police chief in the other. A third man, suit, polished shoes, blank stare, stood off to the side. Corporate VP. Didn't even introduce himself. Lonnie didn't wait. This company has been infected with lies, he said, voice full of fake authority. And the source is right there. He pointed at me. Douglas Reeves, outside contractor, fraud, tampering, corporate sabotage. The VP stepped forward. Based on internal investigation, Mr. Reeves's contract has been terminated. Effective immediately. I didn't move. The police chief stepped off the stage and started walking toward me. You're under investigation for illegal access and evidence tampering, he said. Come with me, please. Nate tensed beside me. Doug! I raised my hand to quiet him, reached into my coat pocket and pulled out my phone. Hit speaker. Before you take another step, I said, holding it up, you'll want to hear this. The voicemail played loud and clear. This is State Attorney General Dana Mueller. This message confirms we've filed criminal charges against Lonnie Ward and associates tied to Elkstone Logistics. We have verified all evidence submitted. Coordination with state police is underway. The yard went dead silent. I let the message finish, then looked the chief in the eye. You were saying? He stopped cold, didn't answer, didn't move. I stepped forward, calm, no raise in my voice, no flex in my shoulders. I entered Lonnie's office legally, with a master key issued by corporate. I photographed and documented everything without removing a single page. I held up a sealed envelope. This is a full duplicate of what we submitted. Timestamps, sender logs, agency confirmation. Then I pointed to the 2 state inspectors who had returned and now stood at the back of the crowd. These aren't freelancers. These are certified, registered agents. Their new tests are validated, fresh samples, independent. Workers started murmuring again. I kept going. 43 of you reported symptoms tied to chemical exposure. Those symptoms match the contaminants found in the water supply. I held up the schematic one last time. Filtered line for execs, dirty water for the floor. The VP looked pale now. He stepped back, said nothing. The police chief cleared his throat, then slowly turned away. Lonnie's eyes went wide. You're just gonna walk away? He forged that! He's lying! No one listened. He snapped, shoved past the chief and charged straight at me. But 2 workers, Jorge and Iris, stepped in first. Jorge grabbed his arms. Iris caught his shoulder. Not today, she said. Lonnie thrashed, yelling. You think this is over? I built this place. I own this. Then tires screeched. A black state cruiser pulled up. Doors flew open. 2 troopers stepped out with warrants in hand. They didn't ask, didn't talk, just cuffed him and hauled him off stage like yesterday's garbage. The yard exploded. Shouts, applause, raw anger finally breaking loose. Nate leaned over, wide-eyed. You didn't even flinch. Didn't have to, I said. He was already finished. 6 weeks later, I was back at headquarters. New case folder on my desk, but my eyes were on the framed photo beside it. A blurry smear of yellow dripping down cracked glass. The egg, the first one, the one that hit dead center. The Elkstone Depot had reopened the week before. Same crew, same building. But everything inside had changed. Water system, rebuilt from scratch. Protective gear, replaced with certified equipment. Inspections, weekly, randomized, independent. Every worker got a restitution payout. Company-wide bonuses, too. Health coverage retroactively expanded to cover chemical exposure for anyone flagged in the reports. No jobs lost, no departments outsourced, no factories shut down. Lonnie, he was in federal custody now. 43 lawsuits pending, each one personal. His assets were frozen, home raided, travel banned. His brother-in-law folded fast, cut a deal, flipped, handed over contracts, tax records, even burner phone logs. That was the nail in the coffin. My firm turned the whole Elkstone case into a training module. They called it Full Spectrum Remediation, from field to fed. Catchy, in a corporate kind of way. Nate stopped by my office one afternoon, holding a fresh set of case files. He paused at the photo on my shelf. You really kept that? He asked. The yoke? I nodded. That was the day everything changed, I said. The day I stopped being the outsider and started being the answer. He stared for a second, then smiled. You ever gonna admit this was personal? No, I said. It wasn't. It was math. They added lies. I brought receipts. I reached for the next file and opened it.